um, yeah, this product, like I said, you and I both know, we both know that this e-cigarette thing, causing a lot of people not to smoke regular cigarettes anymore. Okay, and I know it's going to be having an impact on your lighter sales. However, there's still a lot of people that do smoke, and even e-cigarette users that smoke sometimes and use e-cigarettes sometimes. And it's still a pretty big market out there. And yet you guys still lose a lot of sales to those cheap Chinese lighters and, other people that produce, those little lighters that don't last more than a week or so out there. And, your lighters really are better, but I do know you probably see sagging sales. Now, you can get your sales up, though, even despite the declining marketplace with a product like this. Still, I do buy big lighters every now and then, but still, almost every time I buy a carton of cigarettes, they give me a free lighter. So I don't buy them all the time, but I certainly way prefer big lighters. It's much, much more reliable. But at the end of the day, it's still hard to justify going and buying them, given the fact they are more expensive. But again, for a lot of people, if they had that extra incentive, they'd buy them even if they didn't need the lighters, just to have the screen thing. Because once people start seeing that being used, everybody's going to want one. Because cigarettes are such a mess, and everybody knows that. And then also having that snuffer, that's a nice little bonus. And if you have these all, sold in like a 2-pack of big lighters, I really think you'd sell a lot of them. And you could also sell them independently, too. But all you got to do to have it taken off, really, is just to put them in there and have a little bit of an instruction booklet, and people say, what's this? When they get their pack of lighters, and they read the thing and go, oh, wow, this is neat. And, that's one way of getting it to take off. The other way is to actually have a little cardboard display, stuck above every big, dispensary, in a click store or what have you. It's a little cardboard color graphic, that actually shows this thing being used, and, it tells a little about it. It just has to be like a 1 square foot little graphic, that just kind of sticks on top of the rack that the lighters are being sold in. That's all you need for in-store advertising, and like I said, that'll do the trick too, or a combination of the two. And then eventually people will be willing to pay a premium for the big lighter packs that actually have these versus the ones that don't, and that's how you start really recouping your costs. But even to start with, you could try to get away with upping your price a little bit, if you wanted to do it that way, or you could just start it out as a differentiated product, which may be the best way to do it, because then you can start recouping your investment, immediately, by just having, lighters packs that have these versus ones that don't next to them. But it will confuse people that try not to charge that much more for the ones that do have them, like say an extra 10 cents for a 2-pack of lighters or something like that. Then, yeah, I think they'll try it out of curiosity, because hey, what's 10 cents, right? Especially if you have a color poster on top of it. But at any rate, I was really surprised to find out, and I didn't actually know this when I invented this thing, that just the U.S. alone has 42 million smokers in it. I was really surprised by that. I had no idea how many smokers there were. I figured at least 10% of the population, which would be about 30 million, but I really wasn't thinking about it. But, the potential here is way, way bigger than I thought. I had no idea how many, people have gone over to e-cigarettes permanently, etc. So, but I know this could be a worldwide product. Hell, sell it in Poland. They don't have any aversion against smoking at all over there. But I know everybody universally will consider smoking kind of a messy proposition, and it is. My entire life has been a mess. And I'm actually somebody that I really believe in smoking, because I believe in, if you want to kill yourself that way, that's fine. That's what freedom is. Freedom is worth dying for. So, at the end of the day, I still believe in that. Now, having said that, I still wish I'd never started smoking, and, I wish a lot of people wouldn't, because it is bad for you. I'm under no illusion there. But on the other hand, I do believe in people's freedom. I think it's liberty, or death. And even if liberty equals death, I think that's a good thing to have. I don't mean to go off on a political rant here, but that is just, it's kind of a, pet peeve. issue that does actually irritate me quite a bit. But, at the end of the day, though, I mean, there is a sizable market here, and these things don't last forever. The objective is to make them last, a few months, 6 months, but, don't make them so robust they last somebody years. You don't want that. You want them to last. You want them to wear out every now and then, so that they're incentivized to buy more lighters, and keep the cost down too. So it's affordable, but certainly enough to where you can raise the price a little bit, on people that buy it, so you can make some money off of it too. It's nice to sell more lighters, because my first idea for this was to allow you to regain market share. So if you didn't make any profit at all from the device itself, you could still make more profit in terms of increasing your lighter sales. However, it's nice if you can make a little profit too. And like I said, the cost and production of these things shouldn't be very high. And particularly since it's possible to streamline these things. And again, you don't need a fancy schmancy case like I showed in the patent that's all, heavy, relatively heavy plastic and stuff. You just need a lightweight thing just to prevent people from getting ash in their pocket is what you need. So it doesn't have to be all fancy schmancy like that, although in the deluxe kits you could do something like that, have that part injection molded for the most part or what have you. But, at the end of the day, you really just need something that's thin, lightweight, little enclosure so that when they're not using the asher or whatnot, they can put it in that thing and just have to have a cheap little lid on it to seal it up. I mean, something can be made of very thin plastic, like, 5 mil or 10 mil plastic. The point is, though, is I think it's something that could really pay off for you guys. So even though I wasn't very optimistic about it when I invented it, I just invented it and put it in my PPA list because I really want one, that's a really good quality device. So anyway, that's just my take on how this product could benefit your business.
Yeah, there's one thing I need to say about the cigarette snuffer, and you may be saying, well, can't people just, honestly just stop smoking their cigarette early and kind of put it out? Well, for one thing, it's hard to put it out. And it's hard to know for sure whether the thing's really out. And, this plus the little carrier tube, helps ensure that. So it makes it convenient to actually carry and redo the cigarette. Plus, trying to put it out, sometimes you'll break your cigarette, or, if nothing else, you end up packing the end of the cigarette. So, yeah, at least from a psychological standpoint, you think, well, geez, I mean, that just cost me some smoking time there because I kind of crushed the end of it. Well, you don't get that problem with this snuffer, and plus it gives you just that positive psychological reinforcement that, oh, I'm going to stop smoking that cigarette right there. And, that's just kind of a nice little extra bonus there on it. So, that's kind of where it comes from, so in case you're wondering what the real point is. Anyway,